Hi, I'm James Laidlaw and I'm here on my local farm and I'm going to be talking about drought and the effects it can have. What is drought? Most people think of a drought as a period of unusual dry weather that persists long enough to cause problems such as crop damage and water supply shortages. But because dry conditions develop for different reasons, there's more than one definition of a drought. Drought is caused by not only lack of rain and high temperatures, but by overuse and overpopulation, said David Muscus, a drought expert and meteorologist at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center. Evidence shows that droughts have been occurred for over thousands of years. In the 1980s, two researchers uncovered more than 150 published definitions of drought. In an effort to bring some order to measuring drought, the scientists grouped the definitions into four basic approaches: meteorological, hydrological, agricultural, and socioeconomic. The first three categories track drought as a physical phenomenon. The last category deals with the drought as a supply and demand problem through the impacts of water shortfalls. These definitions usually specify the beginning, end, and degree of severity of the drought by comparing the current precipitations over a certain time period to a historical average. Here are descriptions of the four main categories of drought. Meteorological drought is specific to different regions. For example, 20 inches of rainfall in a year is normal in West Texas, but the same amount would be less than half the yearly average in Virginia. Agricultural drought accounts for the water needs of crops during different growing stages. For example, not enough moisture at planting may hinder germination, leading to low plant populations and a reduction in yield. Hydrological drought refers to persistently low water volumes in streams, rivers, and reservoirs. Human activities, such as drawdown of reservoirs, can worsen hydrological droughts. Hydrological droughts is often linked with meteorological droughts. Socioeconomic drought occurs when the demand for water exceeds the supply. For example of this kind of drought include too much irrigation, or when low river flows forces hydroelectric power plant operators to reduce power energy. Victoria went through a tough time at the start of the century, called the Millennium Drought. It lasted for 12 years. The main contributor to this issue is believed to be climate change. There is an obvious link between droughts and bushfires. John White, Dale Nemo, and Suzanne Hale conducted a study on the Grampians National Park that covers over 168,000 hectares embedded in the Western Victoria. This area has been subjected to wildfires over the past few years. Bushfires in 2006, 13 and 14 have all together covered 90% of the park. As the graph shows, it took almost 20 years to have the same amount of rainfall as we did in the early 90s. After the large deluge of 2010, the vegetation in the area was booming, but due to lack of rainfall in the following years, it created the perfect environment for bushfires in 2013 and 14. Farming is an occupation that relies heavily on rainfall. Farmers' income and livelihoods have been affected by droughts, with their crops and livestock taking a hit from the drought. Living on a farm, I've witnessed firsthand the effects of what a drought can do, especially to the people who are working on the farm or livestock and crops, and how your livelihood can decrease so quickly just from a simple thing as a drought and not having as much water as we did in the years before, or hopefully we'll have in the years to come. Water deficit during drought spells is one of the most significant stress factors in crop production worldwide. It can lead to significant yield reduction or even crop failure. Beside the negative effects of water stress on the yield, quantity and the quality can also be influenced. A research by Edwards, Gray and Hunter in 2014 is one of the first to provide estimates of the impact of drought on mental health using a large-scale representative survey. The analysis is based upon a 2007 survey of 8,000 people living in rural and regional areas of Australia. At the time the survey was conducted, a substantial part of the Australian continent was experiencing severe drought. The impacts of drought are estimated using regression models which allow for the effects of demographic and geographic variables to be held constant. A novel feature of this paper is that the impact of drought on the mental health is estimated separately for a range of people in rural areas, including non-farmers as well as farmers and farm workers. The paper finds that drought does have negative mental health impacts and that those who are most impacted upon are farmers and farm workers. There do not appear to be substantial flow-on effects of drought on the mental health of those employed outside of agriculture. There is evidence that the more severe the agricultural impact of drought, the greater the impact on mental health. Farmers who reported that the drought had eliminated or reduced their farm's productivity to the lowest point ever had significantly higher rates of mental health problems and lower mental health well-being scores than those who had not reported they were in drought or reported that the drought had little or no effect. The findings are not notable given that the recent climate change scenarios suggest that the frequency and severity of drought will increase in many countries. Droughts are a recurrent and natural part of the Australian hydroclimate, with evidence of drought dating back thousands of years. However, our ability to monitor, attribute, forecast and manage droughts is exposed as insufficient whenever a drought occurs. The paper by Kim and et al. Summarised what is known about drought hazards, as opposed to the impacts of drought in Australia, and finds that unlike other hydroclimatic hazards, we currently have very limited ability to tell when a drought will begin or end. Understanding, defining, monitoring, forecasting, and managing drought is also complex. I believe that to improve the understanding and management of drought, the key research should be targeted at defining and monitoring drought characteristics, such as the frequency, the start time, the duration, the magnitude, and the extent, to remove confusion between drought causes, impacts, and the risks.